We love hip
gun
hop.
epidemic that we have in Canada. A lot of people are always been wondering. I don't even think people wonder, but we had an influx of guns coming into this country from time. Right, it's before I was around. There was guns coming into the country, but back in my day, it was a little bit easier. I would say pre 9/11, but that didn't really stop the flow of guns coming into Canada. So there was a special that I was trying to react to last live stream that we got cut off from. That was from the CBC National News, where they were talking about the incident that happened at the studio where like 100 shots went off. There was a crazy shootout between a gang of people that were at the studio and a bunch of people or a few people that pulled up to the studio, and a crazy shootout. Now they're saying they have arrested the person who was responsible for trafficking them the guns that have gotten across the border. Okay, they've been able to pinpoint who that person is. So I'll pull up a video over here, and this is a video courtesy of
transported up to
CBC, the National. Okay, we'll try to play as much of it as we can. But yeah, they arrested this gentleman, and let's take a look.
Canada.
Former Florida trucker Erhun John Eyre this month was handed a U.S. prison sentence after admitting in a plea agreement to moving guns across the border for $1,000 each. Weapons, including a pistol, later seized by police in Hamilton the day Tobina Obiaga was shot and killed. Another Glock recovered in a Thunder Bay drug trafficking investigation, and then there was that brazen gunfight in Toronto.
I'd love to say this is an isolated incident, but the reality is guns are coming over the border in so high numbers.
Welcome to High Noon Guns.
Eyre legally bought more than 24 firearms from Florida retailers like this one.
I bought at least 24 from a regular Florida retailer. Wild.
Apparently using this electric grinder to obliterate the serial numbers and keeping a handwritten record of money he's owed in Canadian dollars.
If you look at a reason why people are buying guns here and smuggling them into Canada, it's money.
Toronto police say among crime guns seized last year, then traced, 86% came from the U.S., leading some to call for stronger measures at the border.
There's a real strong
86%
likelihood that we're catching not a great percentage of them.
Among the guns acquired by that Florida trucker, several wound up here in the Toronto area. 18 of the firearms smuggled into Canada have never been recovered.
And that's just a small amount. There was another video that I was looking at also, and I'll find it in my history, where they had also arrested another gentleman, also from Florida, who was trafficking guns over here to Canada. And to be honest, that's just on the small end of everything that's going on.
ATF agents raided a Miami home last week. It was all part of an international operation.
This is from 4 months ago, right? Federal agents target Florida, Canada gun smuggling network tied to multiple homicides.
Local 10 Samir Nefsi is joining us live in Miami with the details. Samir?
Yeah, and Nicole, that raid took place at this home just behind me. The man cuffed outside, property appearing to be seized. As you mentioned, part of a national operation, Take Back America. This, as we know, the specific raid here, part of an investigation that spanned from October of 2023 to June of 2024. From Miami to Canada, federal agents busting a gun trafficking ring.
But what we would ultimately like to do is to seize weapons before they end up at a homicide scene.
Wednesday, the U.S. Attorney's Office revealing new details on a December 4th raid at this Miami home off Northwest 41st Street near North Miami Avenue.
Without going into operational details, there were search warrants that were executed on communication devices. It wasn't something that just happened overnight.
ATF agents carrying out a court-ordered search warrant issued for Alfredo Santana, the 32-year-old alleged to have trafficked guns across the border, nearly
Alfredo Santana.
30 weapons brought into Canada.
Today's announcement is a sneak peek into the complex story about a sophisticated transnational criminal organization that until recently fueled violent crime in Canada for sheer profit.
Those weapons, say investigators, linked to a number of crimes across the border, including at least 3 homicides. Santana, a mule for the weapons, working alongside 4 other men.
Tyler Corbin is a Tampa resident. He was a Canadian citizen with permanent residency. He was a supplier of the firearms to this organization. The other supplier was A.W.O.L. He's a Canadian citizen. He's currently in Canadian custody. He was likewise a purchaser and a supplier. The other defendants, Omar Singate, is a Canadian citizen. He is in custody in Canada. And
so 3 Canadian citizens and 1 American.
the last defendant that you have before you in the indictment is Arif Juman. He is a Canadian citizen, and
4.
he is a fugitive as we speak.
All 5 men now facing charges from conspiracy to traffic firearms, trafficking in firearms, to dealing with firearms with a license.
Let me be very clear to you, ladies and gentlemen, this investigation continues. It is far from over. We're going to get to the bottom of this trafficking organization.
All right, so investigators say the motive behind all of it, money. For example, those weapons.
Okay, whatever. Duh. I wanted to just, my brain was just thinking something here. Let's find something here. How many guns are trafficked into Canada from the US per year? Let's find that out. Let's see what ChatGPT says. Short answer, no one knows the exact number, but experts have solid estimates and ranges. Okay. Best estimate and indicator thousands per year is a general expert consensus. Duh. The Canadian authorities have traced over 21,000 guns, crime guns back to the US. Between 2017 and 2021, 24,500 sourced US sourced guns were recovered. Damn. And this is the type of shit that kind of irks me too, because they want to take the guns away from the citizens over here when they're able to seize 24,000 guns that are illegal guns in Canada. But they're worrying about the guns that the citizens have. You know what I'm saying? You know, let's do a buyback program. You know, let's put some deadlines on when you guys are supposed to turn in your guns or terminate the guns or whatever, disable the guns, and all types of freaking stupid rules that they're putting on people's heads when they're literally able to seize this many illegal guns per year. Around 1,200 firearms were seized at the border in a single year, in 2021 to 2022. 1,200. Okay. I know that number the other day when they were talking about the amount of guns that were returned in the gun buyback program was something like, I forgot the number. I think it was like 25 to 30 something thousand guns that were returned. No, it was like around almost 50,000 guns, but they were expecting like 150,000. Bruh, you guys are focusing on the wrong things. I'm not in charge, but in my opinion, if I was in charge, I'd be taking the focus off of the regular tax-paying citizens and worrying about their hunting rifles or AR-15s or certain things, you know, their handguns, all that type of shit that you guys are worried about, and worried about these 12,000 or 1,200 guns that you guys have seized from the border in 1 year, right? The 24,500 US sourced guns that were recovered in Canada between 2017 and 2021. That's only a 4-year span. That's a lot of guns. You guys are literally focused on the wrong shit. So I just wanted to put you guys on, you know, put your attention onto that, because they're going to take 1-2 guys out and, you know, put a news story out, CP24, Global News, all the different places, and be like, oh, look, we got this gun trafficker. He's the one who sold the guns that were in that shootout at the studio the other day. So guess what? We're locking the faucet on all of the guns that are coming into the country. They only really hit him with 38 guns. For the amount, they caught young Lava with 67 guns on the way back from Nebraska. He ain't got nothing to do with any of these 2 guys from what I know. So what are we talking about here? We have the longest landmass border between us and the United States. So Montreal or Quebec is one of the easiest places of entry. But then, you know, there's a bunch of places in Ontario, bunch of places out west, they ain't never stopping the guns from flowing over here. So instead of worrying about the citizens and how much guns they have in their homes that they're actually using to protect themselves because home invasions are on the rise, worry about taking the guns out of the hands of the criminals. Just my opinion.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to check out these other videos on the screen and make sure to like and subscribe.
We love hip hop.